It's the occult pod. Welcome to Occult Pod. We talk about conspiracies and other different things about the simulation. Welcome to Occult Pod. Welcome to Occult Pod. Hope you enjoy the show.
Welcome back, and today we have Silviu on with us for the third time on our channel. It's great to have him back on again as he provides great insight into the matrix, the occult, and how to essentially ascend from this reality. So Silviu, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on again, guys. It's a pleasure to be here. Love talking to you guys.
Always a pleasure
Yeah.
to have you, mate.
Yeah, it is indeed. So, as you touch on escaping the matrix so many times, one particular event with the submersible, they're all sinking down. It seems like the three people that died have already ascended or perhaps gone down into the abyss. What are your thoughts on what happened with the submersible?
Oh, yeah. Interesting. I don't know if really they ascended, because that would mean really just anyone that dies ascends. But they definitely descended, that's for sure, into the abyss. Maybe too soon for that joke. Yeah, I don't know what happened. There's definitely a lot of what seems like orchestrated events, not only that led up to that particular event, but that created a whole particular event, and especially. So, there was an allusion to, of course, the Titanic, right? They went to see the Titanic. But last time the Titanic sank, there was a huge financial revolution, right? It was a year prior to that. That was 1913, the establishment of the Federal Reserve on Jekyll Island. And I'm sure many of you know the story, but it was supposed to be 3 or 4 rich billionaire bankers. Now, only 3 out of those 4 were, only 1 out of those 4 was for a national bank, let's say a centralized banking system, because the other 3 knew that it would essentially collapse the economy and devalue the dollar. And being rich and being, let's say, still having some morals, even though they were billionaires, they were part of the club. Because imagine having $1 billion at that time. That's enormous amount of wealth, right? And one of the families was the Astori family that was supposed to be on that ship, or that was on that ship. But this other dude, he's like, yeah, let's get all 4 of us and go on this Titanic. And I believe 20 minutes prior to the Titanic leaving, he backs out. The 3 billionaires that had essentially weight over the governance of this establishment of Federal Reserve, they got on the ship, and some sketchy business then ended up happening with the ship, from which I heard that it wasn't even an iceberg that sunk it. It was actually rather explosives on the ship. So just imagine how far we've strayed from the actual Leonardo DiCaprio and what's her face movie about the Titanic.
I forgot
What's her name?
Yeah.
I completely forgot him.
I'll tell you guys. Her name was
Rose.
Kate. Yeah, her name was Kate Winslet, the actor.
That makes sense, Kate. Yeah.
Actress, my bad.
You can always count an England beer.
Yes, great researcher. So imagine if they would go to that length to kill 3 other people just to establish a freaking Federal Reserve. That must have been a very important point in their system of control, right? So with this new event, we can potentially assume similar things have been going on, because, again, who was invited? Billionaire people, billionaire families, right? And they ended up dying, presumably. So there must have been something at large. Maybe they were also against the establishment, let's say, of the new financial revolution, which at this time is digital, or maybe it was just an illusion or a sort of sign to those in the know that, hey, it's gonna happen soon. But at this point, I'm just speculating. But we can only make connections, right?
100%. I mean, me and Ngombe literally did an episode on the Titanic a month before the whole Titanic submersible occurred, which was actually quite ironic, to be fair.
That's crazy.
I think I would completely agree with you, but it seems sort of like a reference point, like symbology to a new change into like a new financial system that we're moving into. Like obviously our JP Morgan getting off the Titanic and deciding not to go on, who was like the head of the Federal Reserve, and then 3 of the biggest people who opposed him died miraculously on the boat at the same time. And then, but you have these stories popping up in the news that are just seem so significant for some reason. And every time I hear a story in the news, like in the mainstream media, that's being pushed to that level, there's always something behind it. Like that's happened before. Well, it's not happened before, but there's probably been a lot of instances where people have gone down in submarines and there's been something catastrophic that's occurred to them because it's very likely that it had happened. So why was there such an emphasis and such like focus on this particular event?
Yeah,
there's no accidents when it comes to reasons for events like this being in the news, like so horseshoed into, like shoehorned into like the public consciousness. I 100% think it is like a marker or some sort of reference to what occurred with the Titanic. Also, it occurred 111 years after the Titanic event. 1912 to 2023. It's an 111th anniversary. I think it was a ritual purpose for like a ritual for the Titanic. You also had James Cameron directing the movie JC, like Jesus Christ, and he claimed that he'd been to the Titanic wreck 33 times and often bragged about it. 33, like when Jesus was sacrificed.
Wow.
So, yeah, James Cameron, the elusive guy, but he often bragged about going down there. And also, yeah, just the story was so bizarrely told. Like there was the whole thing about the submersible literally being gone within a millisecond, because they were at substantial pressure underground for it to just like dissipate within like a fraction of a second, and they'd be gone.
Oh, so they crossed the threshold and poof, they just exploded.
Yeah. So the pressure of the submarine would have been so like intense that it would have just come together within a matter of seconds, and they would have been disintegrated. There wouldn't have been anything left. That's the story that were told. Also, there's the whole thing about them using a PlayStation controller, which to me seems like one of these things where they often make it a bit memeified. Like they'll have one bit of information in the stories that they give where it's like it seems so ridiculous that it seems like a joke. You know what I mean? So then people can talk about it more. People pass on the knowledge. Like, oh yeah, they were really stupid to go down. Why did they use a PlayStation controller? It seems like whenever they tell a story in like the public eye, there's always like one bit of information that just seems so stupidly like unrealistic. It's like why would that even be part of it?
I was just gonna mention that. I think there's 2 things to that. Or 3 things, let's say. One, that it is meant to be like a joke and like laugh at you. You're like, haha, what idiots, they're not getting it. 2, the controller could be representing that it's been a controlled event. It was controlled, it was orchestrated. And 3, it's alluding again to the potential video game aspect, or the video or the simulation. Like this was simulated, also going back to the controlled, orchestrated thing. So that's how I see it. But yeah, that's a very good point. They understand human psychology very well, right? These people that create the news, put it in the media. All right, what are people going to hang on to? People, when they tell the story, they're going to say, oh, a bunch of billionaires, they got tricked. They went to go see the Titanic. They died. Oh, and there was a controller in there. That's what makes it especially funny. So that's just crazy. And yeah, it was 1912, so 111 years. There's probably some even more gematria connected to that. And does that mean that 2024 would be the financial revolution system? Yeah, the system changing. But also, what they called it Titanic because the ship was very large, right? It was Titanic.
Yeah, and it's a reference to the Titans, isn't it?
To the Titan, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think Ngombe had something about this. He could probably talk about that more than I could be able to formulate.
Yeah, like with the Titans, and I don't remember what I said in the last episode about the torture, about with the people sinking. Is it just the Titans losing the war and being sent to Tartarus?
Yeah, like Atlantis sank.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Well, it's the descending, isn't it? It's the descending into the underworld, into the abyss, like we talked about earlier. I mean, there's always this fascination about the Mariana Trench being the deepest point in the ocean, and it is sort of like the opposite to Mount Everest. It is essentially Mount Everest of the sea because of how deep it is. Another thing that's quite interesting about the whole Titanic event, there seems to be some reference to like Jesus, the Bible and things like that. A lot of reference to that. So one, obviously, I mentioned about JC, the Jesus Christ with the 33, and James Cameron claiming that he'd been to the wreck of the Titanic 33 times. There's also the point about, just give me a second. So one of the kids that died on the submarine, he went with his dad, and he decided to go down. I don't even think he wanted to go down, but he was actually called Suleiman, which has a very, very similar sounding to Solomon. Like Solomon.
I just went to a wedding with a guy named Suleiman.
Did you? Well, there's a synchronicity for you.
There's been quite a few synchronicities lately, yeah.
I know. I've seen quite a few. I've seen quite a few recently, but yeah, there's just seems to be a lot of references to sort of Jesus, the Bible, which is interesting with the whole Sound of Freedom movie coming out at the minute. It seems to just be like really out in the open at the minute. I don't know about you boys.
Yep. I mean, they were definitely portraying the main guy as a sort of Jesus character in the movie as well. He was basically the savior of the kids. He was seen as like the Jesus Christ
and
for them.
The main guy played Jesus, didn't he, in the Passion of the Christ movie?
Oh, was that him?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. First, they want to use a friendly face.
There's also a video of him talking about how he apparently died and went to heaven. During an interview. Yeah, it's during an interview. Apparently, he got struck by lightning. I think it was around the time he was filming the Passion of the Christ movie. He got struck by lightning, which seems very likely. And then apparently, he died or he had an out-of-body experience, and he saw heaven.
No way.
Look that up. I saw that on Twitter the other day.
So he got fully put into the Matrix marketing department, I'm guessing.
Apparently. I mean, they're just playing two sides, aren't they, really? That's the thing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, I'm not going to spoil it for you guys because you haven't seen it, but there's a lot of symbolism throughout the movie, and especially with you'll catch there's something especially off with the message at the end of the movie, because once you're done with the movie, the cinema says, "Please wait 2 minutes for a special message," and he's like, "All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this, and you don't even know the amount of hoops that we've had to jump through to get this movie out there." Which is BS, I think. If it really wasn't supposed to be seen, it wouldn't be, right? They'd be shot or something.
Yeah. 100%.
And all the weird things happening in the movie theaters, like, oh yeah, they turned off the AC and they really didn't want us to see this, and blah 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 blah. I think it's kind of orchestrated, or definitely orchestrated. But he's like, yeah. So to make sure other people see this, make sure you donate the price of a ticket to our scannable code right here. I'm like, okay, what? Hold on a second. People aren't gonna not want to see this because they don't have money. They're not going to want to see this because they don't care. So let's make a point here, a clear discernment. What person in America doesn't have $8 to go see this movie? There aren't that many people. Okay. So where is this money actually going? And is this like a final slap in the face? Meanwhile, he's wearing I think it's the Catholic Church cross, but it's also known as a Templar cross. It's got like one small cross and a bigger cross around it. And then there are pictures on the internet of him doing the one eye symbolism and all that. So he's, in my opinion, clearly a puppet, clearly being used by this movie. But it's like, how ironic would it be that then they use the money to further facilitate the actual real sex trafficking that goes on behind the scenes, not the BS they show in the movie, how you take the kids from Colombia and they send it to some guy and whatever, United States through Florida or whatever, or through across the border, and the FBI catches him because in the movie he turns into one of the guys running the islands, actually, the FBI guy. And again, it's right in your face, right? Little smack in the face, just so they essentially tell you the truth. It is these guys, the FBI, the whole people behind the scenes, behind the government organizations. And of course, they want to eliminate competition if they don't own that competition. They're not going to let these whatever gangsters have their own rings unless they're managing it, because they're the big ones behind it. And they show you that in the movie, but they don't show you, they don't make it obvious, like, yeah, it's really us, but they blame it on the Colombian coke addicts that are the ones really running the show. And people think, oh yeah, such a great expose of human trafficking. Yeah, no, that does happen for sure, but it doesn't show you who's doing it. They take credit actually for stopping it, which is very similar to what Trump is doing. And that's why he had me at first. I'm like, he can't be bad. He's stopping human trafficking. Like, this guy really is a really good person. There's something going on behind the scenes with the military and all that. Oh, well, no, guess what? He just stopping the ones that he wants. That still goes on. He was still part of that, but he's now using it as a way of convincing, let's say, people that are more awake to this stuff. Well,
thank you for all the spoilers, mate. I was planning on seeing it next week, but I mean, I might as well not go watch it anymore. So.
There's no way I spoiled it.
I'm joking. Yeah, I like the point you made about all the like the generation of like, oh, we need this money to actually fund the movie's release. I feel like the best way to get people interested in a film is to just generate some story around it. Like, oh, there's so much resistance to people watching it, because then people are gonna want to watch it because like, oh, well, why are they trying to stop people from watching this movie? And then they'll go watch it, and then you've sold more tickets and you've got more money. Mm-hmm. Also, it's interesting that you've been using these like QR codes as well, which is essentially like beast devil technology. And if it was like a Christian oriented film, you'd thought it'd be completely opposed to that anyway, because it's essentially like a mark of the fourth industrial revolution, which is like the story of Revelation in a sense.
If you can't beat them, join them, huh?
Yeah, 100%. You make a good point about like the whole like, oh, blame it on the Colombians, the coke addicts. Was it Colombians? Did you say?
I believe it was in Colombia. Yeah.
Colombia.
Yes.
Because they go to the Amazon.
It's either them or the Mexicans.
No, it was definitely South America. It was like rebel territory and down south.
So it's the Americans that are the good guys then. Team America.
The Team America
Yeah.
was stepping in, yeah.
Team
FBI.
America. I mean, if anything, American, like Hollywood is a very good like generator of propaganda. If I watched a film where it was like an American oriented, I'm fully down. Like I think America is the best country in the world. They've got that nailed to a T.
Yeah, because guess who started that? Who was the father of propaganda?
Oh, Edward Bernays.
Edward Bernays. Where was he from?
France?
Oh, I think he was actually from France.
Hello there, and I apologise for interrupting this episode as the fact checker police. We are aware that there has been some misinformation that was mentioned about the origin of Edward Bernays. The information mentioned that he was from France, but this is incorrect. He is in fact from Austria. So that is the facts. As the fact check police, we are here to identify misinformation. Let's get back into the episode.
But I believe he helped the Germans, the Nazis, which, Operation Paperclip, that all came over here.
Yeah. I know. Cause it was the driving force behind the whole like smoking.
Yes. He fully convinced women that they need to be independent and show that independence by smoking. Completely logical. But one more point of the movie. So that guy's portrayed like Jesus, right? And his antithesis in the movie is the drug lord, or this rebel lord, essentially, the leader of the rebels. And on the back of his neck, he's got a scorpion. So who would that be alluding to? Do you guys know? In the Bible, who was Jesus's antithesis in the Bible?
Oh God, I don't know actually.
Who got him killed? One of his disciples.
Yeah, one of his. Oh, thingy, Judas.
Judas, yeah.
Aye.
Yeah. That's what they say. And Judas is represented in astrology as the Scorpion, the sign Scorpio. And Jesus will be the sun. And in between the period of Libra and Scorpio, or Scorpio and Sagittarius, the sun goes missing for 18 days. Yeah, Scorpio and Sagittarius. And that's where the sign Ophiuchus is said to be, actually.
Interesting. And that's the whole rebirth cycle as well.
And that's the whole rebirth.
It disappears for the 18 days, then is reborn.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I think the phoenix symbolism also comes in. Phoenix being tied to the peacock. There is a peacock constellation. And if you ever heard of this religious sect from Africa, Northern Africa, I believe, they're called the Yazidis.
Yazidis.
And they have a similar creation myth to the Gnostics, except instead of the serpent, there is a peacock. And this peacock is actually very benevolent. And they treat it as the creator of this universe. Except, if you've ever heard of Abraxas.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Right. That's the rooster head with the snake tails, right? And then we have the peacock, cock being a resemblance of the rooster. And basically that's all tied in with the demiurge. We have the lion tied in with the demiurge, the serpent, the dragon, the rooster, and this peacock. And the peacock on its tails, of course, has the eyes, alluding to the all-seeing eyes, or eye. And it's a symbol of fertility as well, because that's what they show when they're trying to mate. Right? So it's an interesting tale there, with the phoenix and how it's all connected to the phoenix. The phoenix also being tied to the eagle, which a lot of the German ideology was also based around the double-headed eagle or the phoenix. you guys want to get into that now?
Yeah,
I'd love to speak to that to a degree. Sorry, go on, Engel, you go first.
Yeah, even like other countries like the Russians, they have the double-headed eagle, and you show it in mythology with Janus, the two heads. So it's all there. Where if it's not eagle, then it's something else.
Yeah, even Albania. I've been getting into a lot of Albania.
Yeah, they do actually. That's a good point. Yeah, they do have the eagle, don't they? The eagle symbolism. I mean,
Yeah,
it's sort of reference to.
Sorry, they say it comes from the Byzantine Empire, the eagle, but that also comes from somewhere because it's a religious symbol.
It all seems to be reference to like one particular point or one universal piece of knowledge. Yeah, hold on. I genuinely think it's just reference to like I think the phoenix is the cornerstone of it, and I think it's just reference to like the rebirth cycle of how like there's a cyclical nature within this world or whatever you want to call it, where things just get wiped out and we start over again. And I think the phoenix, because it rises from the ashes, it's destroyed and then it's reborn again. It's just a cyclical thing. And obviously you have, I think we spoke about the Jason Bashir's book, haven't we, in the past?
Yeah. What is this cornerstone? You're saying it's a cornerstone event?
So it's the cornerstone of the three beings, like the eagle and the phoenix, and what was the other? Did you say another bird as well?
Peacock.
The peacock. There you go. Yeah, with the eyes. So that's like the cornerstone of it is like just the phoenix aspect of it, and to some extent, like we spoke about in the Graham Hancock episode, it could be referenced to like the tail of the serpent could be referenced to the tail of like the asteroids or the meteors or whatever it is coming down.
Yeah. I was thinking that
creating that reset. But it's like a phoenix
fiery serpent.
Yeah. And almost the empire has to rebuild itself from the ashes, and that is where the reference point of the phoenix comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you have, it's like with the United States, the seal originally used to be a phoenix, and it was changed to an eagle straight after. Well, I think for a good few years at least it was a phoenix, and then changed it to an eagle because the phoenix represented something that they knew about. And also you have the reference to like I've got, this is kind of a sideline, it's off track here, but have you got, say, any thoughts on, the artist Travis Scott? Have you heard of him before?
Yes.
So he's doing a performance at the Pyramids very shortly.
Oh, really? Probably won't stay. You know what they do at the Pyramids, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to be getting... No, I'm not. I wish I was.
I don't know. You went to a concert recently. Sure.
I did. I went to a concert last night, actually. It's like the whole energy draining thing. Last night, I was so tired and I woke up this morning. I've never slept in past like 8 a.m. the past few weeks, and then I ended up waking up at 10 a.m. this morning. Oh. And I was drenched in sweat last night. I must have lost at least like 30 gallons of body water just through sweat. But yeah,
sure, your sheets were very happy with that.
Well, I didn't even have a shower. I came in, went straight to bed. I was like, there's no point because, like, I'm just gonna be dirty anyway. I'm wet anyway. Like, I'm technically clean.
Yeah, I feel that.
And I was just so tired. I was like, I don't have time for a shower this time. But yeah, back onto the topic of Travis Scott having a concert at the Pyramids. Also, he has an album called Birds in the Trap Sing McKnight, where the background cover is, well, like the album cover in the background, there's an eagle. Oh, it's either an eagle. No, it is an eagle. Yeah, it's an eagle. So I think he is one of the main simulation, like one of the cornerstones of like the simulation in terms of celebrities at the minute. Seems to be a lot surrounding that Travis Scott. You had the ritual at obviously Astro World Fest, where
Astro World, yeah.
You saw about that, the 8 people that died supposedly.
Yes.
Yeah, well, you gotta be careful with these pyramids because they sacrifice people at the pyramids.
That's what I mean. That's why I think it's so interesting. Is it some sort of ritual to sort of arise the phoenix from the ashes?
Because the pyramids also have cornerstones.
Yes,
And
exactly.
Jesus was considered the cornerstone by the Masons.
Yep.
And I forgot how they worked that into the actual structure of the pyramids. But
Yep.
Well,
the Great Pyramid,
Great Pyramid
doesn't have a top. Doesn't have a top.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And Jason Brashears argues that is saved for the cornerstone. So the person who is going to sit atop the throne.
Yes.
Here in the end times.
Which
so
is
that's why I thought it was interesting. Yeah, the Antichrist, which is why I thought it was interesting that he was hosting a concert at the pyramids. Obviously, you have the little things like the United States dollar having the pyramid as a sigil. With the all-seeing at the top.
Exactly, yeah. And it's interesting you mentioned Travis Scott because I'm just looking at his gematria here. Travis Scott equals 166, which is 13. And the eye resides in the 13th step of the pyramid.
There you go. Yeah, there's 30 steps around. Yeah, I'm reading about that.
He also equals Tetragrammaton, another pyramid. Anuit Coeptus, the Twin Towers. 73 written count, whatever that means.
In what cipher is this? Is this Sumerian?
This one is just simple English. It's equal 166.
Oh,
Thomas Anderson. Thomas Anderson being an allusion to Neo, being to the one. Potentially Jesus.
What he said about Twin Towers as well. Is it with a $20 bill that you can create the look of the towers falling?
It was the $20 bill, yep.
Yeah. You have that, and
go ahead.
You also have what looks like the Hoover Dam collapsing as well.
Yes. Yep. Well, these are old prints. I don't know if actually the Hoover Dam hasn't fully collapsed now, right?
No, but I mean it could be like set up for that in the future.
Right. On the newer $100 bill, they printed what looks like an atomic bomb, creating a huge tidal wave over New York.
Oh wow! I've not seen that.
Well.
Huh.
What's going to go on there?
Yeah. And then
I remember doing that as a kid. When I came to America like for the first time, and me and my mate wanted to see if it was true. So we got a $20 bill and folded it up to see if it made it look like Twin Towers were collapsing.
Yeah. Oh, his name's also the reverse of Christ. Yeah. But anyways, his name equals Matrix. His name equals Matrix, just not because Matrix equals 85, but his equals 166.
In the English ordinal?
Yes.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
No doubt people will start to speculate that he's the Antichrist.
No. I don't think so.
I mean,
anyone that's public right now
wants to be the Antichrist.
Yeah, they have the same energy, likely the same demonic way of thinking. But what I feel like this Antichrist would be, if that even is true, would be actually a Prince of Peace, right? Someone that is loved by everyone, essentially. Which
and you have a lot of
these artists are, but yeah, he's going to be one that's more intellectual, let's say, more charming.
Elon Musk.
No, he's Iron Man.
Yeah.
Actually, let me look that up. What does Iron Man even mean?
Makes sense. Makes sense. Iron represents Mars in alchemy, and he obviously wants to go to Mars, though, so
that's it.
Yeah.
Huh.
Welcome to the Truman Show.
Huh. Wait. I heard something regarding how the planets are actually just astral energy, but the way they materialize in this realm is through the form of metals. So, for example, iron being the representation of Mars in this physical realm.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So it's like the elements in terms of metals
Mm-hmm.
as reference point to the planets and stuff like that. So, say what would a planet like Mercury represent? Mercury itself,
Mercury.
Itself,
Yes.
I guess. Yeah.
and then Venus.
I don't know the metals. Venus would be.
Copper. Venus would be copper for some reason.
Planets as metals.
I think it's because when copper oxidizes, it turns green, like the Statue of Liberty,
Oh, I see. Yeah.
which links to Lucifer and
Oh, the
Isis.
Statue of Liberty is copper, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Ah, that's interesting.
Yeah, Sun gold, Moon silver, Mars iron, Mercury, Jupiter tin, Venus copper, and Saturn lead. That's what we get from lead to gold. Which is interesting. Alchemy is always interesting.
It is indeed, but it's so complex at the same time.
Yeah. Because they're also a representation of the colors. So when you get all the colors mixed together, or the light frequencies, you should get white. So if you mix all the metals together, would you get, I don't know, something really crazy? Something really pure?
Mm-hmm.
I looked up Iron Man, I couldn't find anything. Nothing that makes sense to me.
Yeah. Obviously, they want to use alchemy in human form with the current agendas with transgenderism and transhumanism, but let's not get too controversial here, guys.
Oh, we went full circle. Iron Man is equal to Titan in Jewish gematria.
Interesting. Well, the whole thing with Iron Man, I think Elon Musk being Iron Man is a reference to how he's trying to push the transhuman agenda forward.
Mm.
Because obviously with the Neuralink and things like that, and the ability to like heal any disease and whatnot through the use of like microchips in people's brains is transhumanism. And obviously the story of Iron Man is the melding of a metal machine man. So I think you've got your reference point there. And there's a book, isn't there, Ngombe, that you were telling me about, where there's a story of a child called Elon who travels to Mars.
Yeah.
And that's
Project
a book
Mars.
Yeah, that's published way before his time. It's like the story of Baron Trump, who is Donald Trump's grandson, I believe, and he's a time traveler. Apparently, he has a time machine, and his grandfather's the president. So there's all these. It's really weird. There's these books that come out that seem to be references to like a potential future, but in like a very eerily accurate way.
Yeah. Is it just a scripted reality or just manifestation? I have no idea what it is, but some form of magic, surely. I mean, everyone says predictive. Yeah, everyone says predictive programming, but it goes beyond that.
Right.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you guys want to touch on the German influence of what may be going on?
Let's go.
Especially with those Call of Duty connections as well.
Yeah. I mean, Ron, this is your topic, man. We spoke about it briefly on our episode, and Nazi zombies. I'm sure you've got a lot to say.
As in, what do you want me to touch on first? As in, like, the whole idea of Call of Duty zombies being reference to a lot of real life lore, or?
I was going to get specifically into the whole Aryan topic, and how it's connected again to that double-headed eagle or phoenix that we were talking about. Because Hitler wasn't just pulling things out of his butt. He had something that he was really knowledgeable about, it seemed, or at least he had dived into a little bit and was trying to trace its roots back.
Yeah, well, 100%. I mean, there's always been these reference points to Hitler being obsessed with like the occult and things like that, and wanting to essentially find out truths of history in the past. And the whole idea of them creating an Aryan race is something that's quite widely known. I don't think people really truly grasp what the Aryan race was. So, if I'm not mistaken, it was just like a descendancy of like a superior race of beings. And essentially, he was searching for that bloodline to be able to create a perfect race on Earth. And it went to the far reaches of places like Antarctica. There's always stories of like Hitler and other Nazi part, like the Nazi regime hunting like in Antarctica and searching for like hidden caves and locations where they could dig up things that would further their search into like what they can find and things like that. But yeah, there is this is like kind of small, but on one of the Call of Duty Zombies maps, if you look down into, so it's set on a German base, on a German scientific laboratory base, and if you like look down through this wall, like the crack in the wall, there's a tunnel that seems to be going downward, like really down into the ground, and there's a train that's filled with gold, which I think is a very popular Nazi story. I think it's tied into two stories there, where they had a train and they had a boatload of gold that they'd taken or stolen, and I think it's also a reference point into them trying to search the like hollow earth and find beings that are of like a past ancient civilization.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, because English is actually a very Germanic language. Now, we have the idea of the Romans then turning into what's known as the Anglo-Saxon Empire. But the Romans were actually conquered, or they fell apart because of the main Germanic tribe from the north, right, known as the barbarians. So prior to this whole Anglo-Saxon empire was what could have been this barbarian Germanic empire, which was still connected actually to the Phoenicians. Because the Vikings and the Phoenicians actually had very similar masts to their sails, to their ships, the red and white masts. And the Phoenicians were actually sea travelers, and they ruled the sea and got up as far north as Scandinavia and England. So really, it was essentially the same lineage going to war with each other, because these Aryan people were very warlike in their nature. So it makes sense that they would fight with each other too in their state of devolvement, let's say. And these barbarians were known as barbarians, well, by some because it was an insult, because that's basically uncivilized. That's where we get the uncivilized notion to the barbarians. Or in Romanian, barba, first of all, it means chin, but what is also on the chin, which is the beard. So the barbarians were known as the bearded ones, specifically red-bearded. And Phoenicians were obsessed with the color red. Phoenicians even means red. Phoenician means red. Muhammad was said to have red hair and a red beard, and that's why all the priests in the Middle East dyed their hair. Sorry, one second. They dye their hair and beards red with henna. It's an allusion to these Aryans, and Aryan comes from Aries, comes from Mars, which is the red planet. And these bearded ones were said to be noble. or to be noble ones. And in Tibet, there's what is known as the Eightfold Noble Path. Not because it's a noble path, but it's because it's a path of the noble ones. And it's a very occult, sort of sex magic-y, spiritual, let's say, path that they used to practice. And I think what then happened is they turned this Germanic influence over the Roman Empire, then turned into the Anglo-Saxon one. It turned into Anglo-American, which turned into the American Empire. That's why we have traces again of this eagle, of this phoenix, because they're tied still to these Phoenicians. Especially why the Americans are so connected to Israel, because Hebrew, Phoenician, the runes from Scandinavia are all very similar in how they are scripted. So in terms of what Hitler was searching for, or was trying to connect to with his expeditions, especially throughout Tibet and his Aryan, let's say, influence, I believe it was these remnants of Atlantis, which I don't believe these Aryans are necessarily superior to us in a goodness way, but rather maybe from a spiritual ability point, from a technological point, from whatever, an astral influence point. They may be the ones that are, buddy with these higher beings, let's say, in the Matrix, and they have more influence, sort of like, people in the secret societies. They have more influence, but they're not superior to us in any way, right? And, this Aryan race is known as the fifth root race by Steiner, after the Atlantean root race, who, again, back to the Titanic, the Atlanteans were were under the influence of the Titans, and they were sunk into the ocean by Poseidon, which essentially made them Titanic. So,
Yeah, a lot to digest there. Obviously, like talking about Tibetan things, just to link it to.
oh, there he goes.
No, the only reason I'm saying that is because Ngombe was like talking about,
Oh no, I'm saying that because you froze.
Oh, did I freeze?
Yeah,
you did
about to say
freeze.
something. You froze.
So, as a reference point to where you were talking about Tibet and the Tibetan mountains and Hitler searching for whatever he was looking for an Aryan race, there is a map called Shangri-La on Call of Duty Zombies, which is set in the Tibetan mountains. It's set between the Tibetan mountains and it's set between Mars, so it's set on two locations. And
Between where?
Mars and the Tibetan mountains.
Like the map.
So it moves. So it moves locations. So the map itself, it moves locations as to where Shangri-La is set. So Shangri-La is the location of the map, and at 2 points in time, you're either on Mars. So you're on Mars in the past. So with a thing on Call of Duty Zombies, there's a thing called Easter eggs, and the more you get into the Easter egg, part of the Easter egg is moving back in time, and you go to a point where it was located on Mars, and then you go forward in time, and it's located in the Tibetan mountains.
From Venus to Mars.
Say again, sorry?
From Venus to Mars, it seems.
Yeah. So you stay in the same
Venus?
location and moving.
The Easter eggs and the fertility thing with Ishtar and Venus.
Oh, I see. Yeah, well,
So
that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, is that reference point to in the past these beings came from Mars?
Right.
I think it was not in the past.
That's
from
that's
the
what I
red
mentioned.
planet. Yeah. They come from the red planet, and these super beings. There's movement and there's terrestrial travel between these two different points. Is the reason why there's such a push for us to get back to Mars is because of a lot of people that actually been there home at one point in time, and we need like a connecting point between the two planets. Very highly plausible.
That's the missing link of why there's pyramids on Mars and there's pyramids here, and people are like, what happened? What's going on?
100%. I mean, this all ties together. You could go on a rant about 300 different topics, and you'd always seem to come round to the same few things that keep popping up at the same time. There seems to be this like interstellar. I mean, it's like me and gone beyond. Was it the last episode we did about mud flood, or was it the episode before?
Yeah, last episode.
Last episode we talked about the mud flood, and there's a theory that the mud flood. You know the mud flood theory, don't you, Silviu? And that was created by beings on Mars. That is the argument that is to be made, and it's technology that's been shot across interplanetarily to us, which has caused the liquefaction of the mud. Essentially.
Then, what happened on Mars?
Nothing happened on Mars. Oh, what in the past that made it into a barren wasteland? See, my dad always told me this because one of his theories is that there was a nuclear war. I mean, I've heard this plenty of times. There was a nuclear war on Mars, so Mars was a peaceful planet. There was a teeming civilizations who were almost as advanced, if not probably more advanced than we are here on this planet now. And then there was a nuclear war, which wiped everything out and turned it into how it is looking now.
Well, yeah,
which could be, again, a reason why there's so much fascination around nuclear bombs at the minute, especially with films like Oppenheimer coming out. And obviously, like the whole Russia scare of, oh, they've got nukes, they might nuke us at any time.
Yeah, Mars is known as the planet of war. There's a reason for that, right? And again, back to the Aryans, which are said to have been around in the age of Aries. Aries is ruled by Mars, Aries, Mars. Did they come from Mars? Is Elon Musk an Aryan? Why is he obsessed with Mars? He's huge, right? Aryans were huge. Trump is also huge. He's got the blonde hair. He's got, let's say, German ties.
Yeah. Especially to Bavaria.
Yes, Bavaria. But again, the Aryans weren't from Germany per se. The Aryans are said to have started with Noah, who was also considered a giant with blue eyes, but he had brown hair. And he, after the flood, which was, you can assume, was caused by the sinking of Atlantis, and God told Noah, whichever God that may have been, to save his people and start a new lineage because he was pious. He wasn't like the Atlanteans, right? He wasn't trying to invade Greece or everyone else. Because of the gods, the Olympian gods, although they are like the Atlanteans, they are, let's say, egomaniacal. They still want peace and order on earth, so they may be perceived as good. They may be perceived as angels, angels of order, police, but that necessarily doesn't mean that they're good. But these titans are seen more as demons. They're seen more as chaos agents. And they wanted war. And that's what they turned Atlanteans into, because it was a human-led rebellion, potentially, against the Olympians that ruled over the Hellenes. The Olympian gods were in Greece, right? And what was I saying initially before I got into the the Aryans aren't from Germany. Noah is the one that settled in the Caucasus Mountains, because you have to settle on a very high point. And Noah was saved by these Olympian gods, potentially by these Nordics, and told to recreate, to be fertile and repopulate the land. So
you mentioned the Caucasus Mountains. It could link to the Caucasian race.
That's where the Caucasian race is said to come from, yeah. The Caucasus Mountains, yeah. And while there may have been a lineage that did come out of Africa, I don't think all lineages came out of Africa.
No, I don't believe that.
I don't think all races were determined just simply by location, let's say.
Where are the Caucasus Mountains located, if it's not biblical?
You mean the geographical location?
Yeah, if there is one.
Yeah. They're between. They're what set apart Asia from Europe.
Ah, okay.
That's why Turkey is considered part of Europe. It's before the Caucasus Mountains. And from there we have the springing of these newer civilizations, which is on the Levant, where the Phoenicians came from, the Carthaginians, the Levites, the tribes of what's called the Hebrews, of the Jews,
Hmm.
because Noah had three sons. One of them was Jaspet, which is an allusion to Jupiter, is where it is said the Indo-Europeans came from. But if you'll notice, the Jews have a very sort of different looking DNA, or well, we all have similar DNA, but they have different looking physiognomy.
Hmm.
Usually they have curly hair, they're like with glasses. I don't know, that's just the typical way you can imagine someone Jewish, right?
That's not
Um,
the case.
and that is said to be derived from Noah's second son, Semet.
Is it Shem?
Shem, yeah,
I think it's Shem, yeah.
Shem, yeah, and that's where we get the Semitic people from, which would be the Jews. That's a story, but who knows? But again, they're all, let's say, part of the Aryan um, connection, because all of the languages here have a common source. Even the 18 Indian languages with Hindu and all that. Because if you'll notice, how come India does not have one language? There must have been lots of infighting in that country. And if England didn't really step in to create order and control all of them, or the English Empire, the British Empire, India would have been like Europe, split into a whole bunch of different countries.
Yeah, it's the same.
Europe is that small.
It's the same with Africa. There's too many languages in one country. So many countries have loads of languages, like 200 plus languages in each country, which is crazy.
Right.
And obviously, colonization is there to keep control of the populations.
Yeah, exactly. Which means the Indian people were not the peaceful people we think they are, because in the Vedas it is described that a very tall, blonde race of people came to them with a bunch of knowledge, and the Aryans were known for domestic animals such as the cow and the horse. In India, these animals were not found prior to their introduction, and now the cow is very heavily revered as a sacred animal. So these Nordic Aryan beings, said in the Vedas, they came and passed down this knowledge to them. They came in ships, flying ships even from the skies. That's why they're called Aryans, from the air. Who knows whether they came from the air or the ocean or whatever, from underground.
Aries.
Aries, right?
From Aries. Also a reference to Quetzalcoatl, isn't it? Quetzalcoatl, what is it? So
Yeah,
the
the
story of
serpent.
how. No. As in after the flooding of saying with Noah and the flood that's referenced by so many ancient cultures, there was a being or beings that came down and gave them knowledge, passed them knowledge for the civilization, and allowed them to restart itself.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the phoenix rising from the ashes, which is the Quetzalcoatl story.
Well, imagine this: your whole civilization is reset, or the global civilization is reset on purpose, and then they want to orchestrate it towards a more spiritual lifestyle. So here come the gods, boom, descending as how dragons, which I just made a video about this, how these archangels could actually be dragons, and they're these benevolent, soul-loving dragons, and giving you all this information, but they just require occasional sacrifice, now and again. However it may be, children, virgins, gold, whatever. But they're giving you so much good knowledge, right? So much technology, let's say, or wisdom. So of course they're going to shape humanity how they want after it's been destroyed. And what's interesting is that in the New Age, we have a very similar looking Nordic Aryan race of ET beings. Do you guys know who those are?
No. Do you know, Rowan?
I'm not sure. Go on.
You guys heard of the Pleiadians?
Palladians.
Heard of them? Yes.
Yeah, they look like us, right?
The Palladians, the light beings,
Yeah.
they're referenced so much in New Age spirituality.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
you just triggered a memory in my brain there.
Yep. The
Where there
tall
was,
white
like-
bonds.
Yeah, you could speak to it. So if you get into deep enough of a trance in meditation, transcendental meditation, you can speak to these Palladians, and they will offer knowledge of the future, and they will act as a guide for you,
Yep.
and they'll
That's
be
the one.
by your side forever. Not trying to steal your energy or anything like that.
No.
Drive you crazy.
Yeah, they love you.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
Give you this
which
warm,
is-
fuzzy feeling, and you'll be secure forever. Just give them a piece of your soul, hand it over to them.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and again, I watched this very interesting, or I listened to this very interesting podcast that was talking about how remote viewers remote viewed the moon, and on the dark side of the moon, on the dark side of the moon, they saw these Nordic beings, Palladian, let's say, that were using human slave labor to mine craters in the moon. Because what's funny about
Yeah. Was it you that tweeted this the other day, or am I making this up? Where it's very
Yeah.
suspicious that the craters are extremely wide but not very deep.
Yes. No. That's what's crazy about the craters, that they're 180 something miles wide and only 3 miles deep. Now, if that was caused by a natural occurrence, how the heck does that happen? Because an asteroid does not cause that. It
No
would have to be
chance.
proportional somehow to width. The depth would have to be proportional.
It caused significant cracking, but what are they mining for? That's the question.
Just to make it look more real, I feel like, because here's a connection I made recently about the morning star. Why Lucifer is the morning star.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the morning would be death, right? You're mourning something, you're mourning the death. Then we have the
Nice.
Death Star in Star Wars, which looks oddly similar to the moon. So that could mean that the morning star, when you're mourning, you're saying good morning, you're mourning the death of the moon. Morning star, Death Star is the morning star, the moon, which would make it basically a space station, like it was in Star Wars. But in Star Wars, it just had one little crater on it, one dent on it, as opposed to the moon, which has many dents because they had to look like an actual moon. And
Sorry,
of course,
just
they
made-
say it's hollow.
Made an interesting connection here. Sorry, my brain's going to
Would love to hear it.
a million different directions. So, in Call of Duty Zombies, sorry to pull it back to Call of Duty Zombies again, but I know you love.
No, I love
talking
it.
about so much.
That's crazy that Mars is in a map.
Yeah, so we're talking about the moon. There's a map called Moon on Call of Duty Zombies, and there's a station on the moon that has been created by the Nazis in this timeline. And the name of the station is Griffin Station. The Griffin if you don't know what that is a mythological creature which has very much a lot of semblance or resemblance to the eagle. It's an eagle with the backside of a lion attached to it.
Yes.
So if we just bring it to the eagle reference, bring it back to the phoenix, all
Oh, yeah.
that good stuff.
Reminds
all
me
that
of Harry
dragon,
Potter and Gryffindor.
Gryffindor.
Yeah. Yes. And the
And,
Order of the Phoenix.
And the Order of the
Yeah.
Phoenix. There you go.
Because Dumbledore has a phoenix.
Dumbledore of the Phoenix. And guess who has the dragon?
Is it Severus?
What's his name? Harry's mentor. What's his name? Not Dumbledore, the other guy. Hagrid.
Yeah.
Hagrid. Oh yeah, he keeps dragons, of course.
Yeah, he's got the dragon.
He's a
Guess where it's
dragon
from?
Romania.
Romania.
Romans. Romania.
Yep.
See, all these connections are just absolutely fascinating. So, like the whole argument with the Palladians using humans as slaves to dig these craters, it's sort of like it just triggered off in my brain about the whole like building of the station on Mars, like the Griffin station, it being connected to this. In the lore, I think they used slaves to build that station, if I'm not mistaken. But they also, so part of the Easter egg on that map is that you swap souls with the person who's controlling the zombies at the time, and the person who's controlling the zombies is a girl called Samantha. And you do that using a Vril device. And we talked about the Vril, superior beings that supposedly inhabited Mars at some point. And the device itself that you swap, like where the soul is kept, is in this black pyramid. So it's sort of kind of reference point to like a black cube, the simulation, the black cube, the black triangle, the black pyramid.
Confirms every connection we've made so far.
Yeah.
100%. But this sort of shit just fascinates me because it's like how much information do people know that they're not telling us? Or is it on a subconscious basis that this sort of like manifests itself into popular media? Like it's not us that's actually generating this information and these ideas and this creative nous and putting all these ideas together. Is it something that's like driving us and influencing us to make those decisions and create this sort of, this content?
Could be. It could all just be a hallucination of the subconscious, maybe. But at some point, I think it's also part of this whole system, per se. Because that's crazy. In the game, all of these connections that we've made, not because of the game, with the pyramids being soul transfer devices, especially a black pyramid, Nazi bases on the moon, the Nazis being now what's seen as the United States after Operation Paperclip. In the podcast, even saying that now the Chinese have clearance to go on the moon, and not clearance from governments, clearance from the beings on the moon. That means they're in cahoots with them. Yeah, sure, you guys can come here. The moon landing was faked and real, potentially. They had to fake it because they couldn't show what's actually on the moon. Astronauts coming back, basically all getting divorced and turning into alcoholics because they probably saw something that they weren't expecting.
For sure.
I mean,
Buzz Aldrin was, if I'm not mistaken, he was admitted to a mental institution after coming back from the moon because he kept saying stuff that he shouldn't have been saying, and they were like, "Oh, this guy's crazy." Put him in a straitjacket.
Yeah, exactly.
So they definitely saw some shit there.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you a question, Silviu, because I was thinking about like the rabbit on the moon. I don't know if you've seen this before or in Gombe as well. If you look at the moon through a telescope or through binoculars, if you zoom in carefully, you can sort of make out what looks like the outline of a rabbit.
Yeah, I've seen an image of that in like Chinese myth. like they
Yeah.
represent.
And Gombe's been swatted. They've got him. They've finally got him.
Yeah, just had a quick glance of who was there.
What's the Chinese myth?
The moon rabbit. Like there was an image. I've done a bit of research of the moon representing the rabbit and the rabbit representing the moon. So it's like when you're going down the rabbit hole, it's perhaps alluding to the moon or Lucifer going down from heaven.
Also, the tunnel and the experiences.
For sure.
Rabbit hole.
That's what I mean, like the whole rabbit hole, going down the rabbit hole into whatever, into the abyss. I think to a degree you have to keep yourself grounded. But the only reason I asked Silviu, I could be completely tripping right now, but to your right on that door, is that not a rabbit?
That's a rabbit, yeah. That's from Easter. What are you trying to say? I'm on the moon?
Maybe, bro. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, this is my secret space station.
Could be part of the CIA. You could be controlled opposition, to be honest. Oh, shit.
Just Easter, mate.
He's even got the carrot and everything. I don't know what it is. That's a scary looking rabbit. Did you make that?
It's froze.
No, it's
the rabbit's
family tree or Dollar Tree or something. Dollar Tree rabbit. Convenience store rabbit.
It's very pretty. When was it? Easter was 3 months ago?
Yeah, 3 months ago, yeah.
Well, we're very festive around here, it seems. So we like to celebrate it year round.
Fair enough.
No, the rabbit on the moon is very interesting because rabbit in gematria equals devil, I believe, which also equals earth in simple gematria. But
oh, Silviu's frozen.
I'm frozen. Hello?
You'll be back in a second. You're back now. You're back.
Okay. Yeah, tricks are for kids. If you've ever seen that commercial for cereal.
I've not seen that, no.
No.
I've not seen that. No. Is that an American commercial?
I guess it's an American one, yeah. And they have a rabbit. Keep saying tricks are for kids, and it's like the cereal. Tricks, like Trix.
Yeah.
So
trick or treat.
The rabbit's playing tricks, yeah. Trick or treat.
And the rabbit obviously comes out of the black hat.
The rabbit comes out of the black hat.
cube.
Mm-hmm. Just like why you have the rabbi with the hats in Judaism.
The rabbis, yeah.
And when you graduate, you wear a cube-like ceremonial hat.
Yes, because it's said to have knowledge, at least. Their knowledge, their education.
Their knowledge. What they want you indoctrinated into.
Their box, yeah. Yeah,
keeps you in the box.
Black hat alluding to another tunnel, another hole.
And of course, we're doing this podcast on a black screen. Right
okay. Yep.
It's the black mirror. It's the black technology.
Black, yeah. The black being analogous to the void, the black hole, yes. the what's it called? The surface level of the black hole, the event horizon. Even if you take the event horizon, it kind of looks like a hat, right? If you've seen a black hole, like the event horizon, and then the actual hole, and the rabbit coming out of that, and Alice and Wonderland, the rabbit going down that black hole, or Alice going down the black hole, and finding the rabbit. Which is the devil, which is the trickster, which is Satan, which is the demiurge, let's say. I don't know. Time as well. Holding the time, Chronos,
It's all of them.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Bible matches Alice in Gematria as well.
Bible.
I think they're both 13, if I'm not mistaken.
Interesting.
I haven't used
13.
Gematria in a long time.
But again, then the rabbit on the moon would mean that the moon is part of the black hole matrix. It was the first one that you encounter leaving the Earth system.
Yeah.
The rabbit.
There is a lot of ancient reference to a time before there was even the moon in the sky, isn't there?
Yes.
Mhm.
If I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
The moon just showed up one day, essentially. Just appeared
Yeah.
out of nowhere. It was never there before.
Yeah, kind of like they needed another level or something, because there was another planet, but it got destroyed with the asteroid belt, right? So do they have to then introduce the moon to maintain the 7 heavens?
Possibly, potentially. Or it's like the Truman Show with Christoph directing the show from the moon. The
Christoph
moon
of Christ.
Yep.
Jesus Christ equals 36. Phoenix equals 36 in Chaldean.
And
Jesus.
keeping true man within the simulation.
Man, yep.
Just within that.
And he was the only true man. Everyone else was an actor.
Yeah. I mean, Rowan, you're an actor yourself.
Uh-oh. What are you trying to say, Ngombe? Is he a plant? He just accused me of being a plant. Is he projecting?
Maybe. I mean, I'm not the one with the rabbit in the background.
Sure.
And I've not been swatted yet. And Ngombe, you just got swatted, so I
Yeah.
must be with the good guys.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to discuss?
I would love to quickly touch on the whole Barbenheimer event.
Oh yeah, of course.
Just because I am going to watch Oppenheimer tonight. I'm not a Barbie fan. I mean, I happily would watch Barbie, but I've opted to go watch Oppenheimer instead because I'm a big Christopher Nolan fan.
Now tell me, what does
I would just-
Oppenheimer mean?
Sounds
So it's
German.
reference to Robert or Richard. I believe it's Robert Oppenheimer, the man who created the nuclear bomb.
The bomb, right? Okay, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, that's what the film's about. It's about Robert Oppenheimer, who is supposedly the head or the face, the mantelpiece of the Manhattan Project, which obviously led to the creation of the nuclear bomb, and then the wiping out of thousands of lives in Hiroshima. Now, I have my own theories about what the nuclear bomb is, what it could potentially be.
Yes.
Not necessarily just like an energy bomb. So I think, to a degree, that the nuclear bomb is actually like a device that can split reality in two. So I think everyone has this idea that when you'd release a nuclear bomb, it would just create like a huge explosion and disintegrate people within milliseconds. I don't necessarily know if that's just what it's doing, if it's just destroying things. Part of me thinks that the nuclear bomb is a thing that can essentially create portals and rip open like cuts in reality, cuts in our reality. That's why you have heads like Aleister Crowley and Marvel Jack Parsons, who were so interested in the Manhattan Project and trying to get their hands on it, because I think, as everyone knows who's in that the occult side of things, that people like that, figures like that, were trying to create something or manifest something into this reality that they shouldn't have been doing. And that's why they were so fascinated with this. But I think the atomic bomb potentially, instead of actually just destroying things and wiping them out, is actually teleporting or pushing people through into a different reality. So you have these stories of, say, UFOs came down to prevent a nuclear launch in this area because they're altruistic beings and they want us to live in peace.
Mm-hmm.
This theory would suggest instead that they are feeling a threat because these things are showing up in their reality, if they live in like within a nearby close dimension to us, or like in an underworld or something like that, but the nuclear power is actually like going through to their reality and causing distress within their reality, and they're not actually just being altruistic, they're just trying to stop us from using it because it would destroy. Also, it brings people through into this reality as well. So the UFOs have actually been brought through by these devices. Also, why there's such a fascination with that, like people like Aleister Crowley would want to bring these beings in. That's why he was so interested and invested in that sort of technology. Yes. Because you can bring you can bring in demons, beings from different dimensions, not necessarily with them actually wanting to do that themselves. The whole thing with Hiroshima, I think it's plausible that it wasn't necessarily the fact that they were all disintegrated, all these people, that they were actually teleported and moved to a different dimension.
Yeah.
I'd love there to be some study into this.
Like, because that's what they do at the at CERN, at the Hadron Collider.
Exactly. Well, it's the ripping open of particles that, yeah, it's the ripping open of particles that are essentially the building blocks to this reality. It's just tearing it apart. So you've got to expect, at least if you're ripping something apart, for something else to make way, creating a doorway, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, what happens when you split code?
Breaks the code.
The code would break, yeah. Does that create a new code then?
Ngombe. Ngombe Yaro, you do coding.
Yeah. Yeah, when code is split and it doesn't work, too many errors. So if the code doesn't work, there'll be glitches in the matrix.
Yeah. Yeah, because I studied binary a little bit, so it's all in terms of octets, which is 8 bits.
Yes.
So it has to be like 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, at least. Those will all be off. Now, I don't know, can you turn them on or what? I don't know, but the zeros, I think you can essentially, or zeros and ones, you could split them with, potentially with this bomb, I don't know. And would that create then an alternate reality? A portal? Because CERN is a portal. CERN creates black holes, essentially. And we have black holes through our universe. And if we're in a black hole, which is a universe in and of itself, then little black holes in the black hole would be alternate universes in the larger universe.
Exactly.
100%. I mean, CERN got the statue of Shiva, the god of destruction, outside. Yep. Apparently, it's a gift. As a gift.
Who gave the gift?
The Indians.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, Robert Oppenheimer said he'd become the destroyer of worlds.
Yeah.
And Shiva, or no, is it Shiva or is it Kali? No, it is Shiva. Yeah, but Kali, I believe, is known as the destroyer. What's Shiva known for? I thought he was also the destroyer.
Shiva is the god of destruction.
Destruction, yeah, god of destruction. Yeah. Shiva.
So yeah.
What's the other one? Shakti. And
Ganesh.
Oh yeah, the elephant one. Yeah.
I only know that because my mate from high school was Hindu, and he always used to he had like Ganesh's phone screen.
Oh really?
Yeah, so I just knew Ganesh.
Here he's tied to pedophilia though.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, so are so it makes sense.
They're all evil, in my opinion.
I'm joking. But yeah, so as you say, like Robert Oppenheimer claimed himself to be the god of destruction, the person who was is the destroyer of worlds, essentially. And obviously, you have CERN with the smashing of particles together and things like that. Yeah. Which is, and then you have films like Spider-Verse that came out recently, which is all about the smashing open of universes and bringing together different multiverses. And that was all started by a particle collider, very similar to CERN.
Yep.
And have you seen the movie?
Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah, it is a good movie. And Spot has portals all over him.
Oh, and he's
the enemy white. Is all about. Yep, yep. And he's going into black holes.
Yeah.
And then you had the whole thing about in Christopher Nolan's last film, in Interstellar. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah.
The idea at the end was that he went into a black hole and he was teleported into it basically acted like a teleporter into different times in history.
Mm-hmm.
It acted as a tesseract where he could go through to different moments, and it basically completed the loop with himself, where he made the book fall off the shelf. So, yeah, obviously after the Spider-Verse, and you have in the Spider-Verse. I don't know if you noticed it, but the portals that they used to go through to get to the Spider-Man headquarters is hexagon, like the Saturn storm on Saturn, like the Saturn time cube. So they're going.
Yeah, there's also an AI spider, right?
Yeah.
Oh, is there?
Yeah, AI spider.
Doing the whole transportation thing, the cosmic web.
You mean the girl who sits in the chair?
She's the one.
Oh, you mean the
spider?
The one that can? Yeah. The one that can teleport people back into their own universe.
The one that does all the
Yeah. So essentially, like reference to like the whole idea of the Matrix.
Yeah.
But yeah, with the Barbenheimer release as well, it just seems very strange. Like they are two massive movies. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it seems like there's just such this push for it to be this amazing monumental event in cinematic history.
Yeah.
Like Barbenheimer, like it's been labeled as Barbenheimer. I don't know how many people have said that. I didn't hear that word till last week. But everyone just seems to be going crazy. I mean, even for myself, like I think there is like a natural fascination with this double release of films. Like I remember from the start of the year just thinking like, oh, there's going to be these two amazing movies coming out. But I don't know why. It seems like there's a subconscious fascination with both the films more than anything.
It has to be.
I think Oppenheimer
connecting them.
Yeah, I think the whole because the story of Barbie as well is about these beings that are plastic essentially, that don't have a soul, that aren't actually living beings, that come into reality and have to coexist with humans, with people who have a soul. So in my mind, there's sort of this like parallel, there's these two themes running simultaneously, which sort of reference like one long story, where these portals that are created by the atomic bomb that is let off by Oppenheimer allow in these different beings and entities into this reality, which then is furthered by the story of Barbie, where these beings who aren't human come into this reality. And I think that is sort of an allegory for how we're seeing a move into a new industrial revolution and the introduction of AI on a wide scale and bringing in these demon entities into reality and having to coexist with them in the near future. People like Sophia, the robot, who is obviously the daughter of Lucifer. Things like that.
Oh, you think she was the daughter of Lucifer?
Is it the daughter or is it the mother?
The mother is what I've...
The mother, yeah.
Yeah.
My mistake, I just got them mixed
Could
up.
be the daughter, I don't know.
Potentially.
Now I gotta go watch these movies. I wasn't gonna, but might as well.
I'm gonna watch Oppenheimer tonight, and I think it'll be a good movie.
But you're gonna go see Barbie in the theaters.
Awesome.
After you'll see it?
Yeah.
You'll see Barbie too?
No, I'm not actually. I will go. I probably will go see it. Maybe it's supposed to be quite good, to be fair, and it's got Margot Robbie in, so. Also, Margot Robbie is 33.
Oh, she is, huh? Dang, she looks good.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
She does look good for 33.
Plastic.
Yeah. Maybe she is.
I saw the one they get rid of plastic now.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Like on a wide scale. I mean, I'm all for getting rid of plastic, to be honest. Just because of the detrimental effects it has to health.
Yeah.
As much as I can now, I only drink out of a glass bottle like with water and things like that. I always try and buy glass bottled stuff.
Yeah, I gotta keep forgetting to do that. To buy a copper cup or a canteen or something.
Yeah, it's easier said than done, though, isn't it? It's convenience, really, more than anything.
Exactly. I just go to the store, buy a bunch of water bottles, and take one with me every time.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a correlation between the introduction of plastic in the past, 50 years, to like declines in health and things like testosterone.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
So, as much as I'm not like pro climate change agenda, I think getting rid of plastic is a good idea.
Sounds reasonable to me.
And me too.
As long as we have a place to put it or something, or just stop making it. I don't know.
Burn it all. Have you seen the thing about here's a mass sacrifice that is quite interesting? It's going to be occurring soon. I don't know when it's going to be occurring or if it will actually happen. I think it's in Ireland. They're planning on slaughtering loads of cows, thousands of cows, in the name of climate change.
That's ridiculous.
I know. How ironic, eh?
Very ironic.
Yeah.
Again.
Sure, we can get some Hindu protest against that. There's only billions of people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Again,
it's just funny, like all vegans and stuff being like. So I spoke to a couple of vegans recently, and I asked them, "What would we do with the cows if we weren't eating them?" And they were like, "Oh, well, they just shouldn't exist." So I was like, "Well, what are you going to do then? You're going to have to murder them then. Like, there's no other alternative. Like, we can either like keep doing what we're doing now, keep them at bay and under control so they're not causing havoc everywhere. Two, we just let them loose and do whatever the fuck they want, and they'll be dead within the first 100 years anyway because
they're not wild.
Yeah, or three, you just have to straight up slaughter them, which is just as bad as killing them for meat, surely.
Exactly. But hey, this is the Truman Show, man. We don't know. We expect the unexpected in this planet.
You guys seen the movie Idiocracy? I just rewatched it yesterday.
Nah.
I've not seen that. That sounds like a good movie, though.
It's somewhat interesting, somewhat funny, but essentially the guy falls asleep, or they put him under. What's the word? They freeze his body.
Oh, yeah.
They freeze his body, but it's only supposed to be for a year. It's by the military. But I guess the guys get arrested and they forget about him. And he wakes up 500 years later. And he's essentially the smartest person on Earth, even though he's like regular intelligence, because everyone just became a complete idiot.
Yeah, I've heard of this. My barber was telling me about this. Is this the one where instead of drinking water, they all drink Powerade?
They drink Powerade. Yeah, they're watering their crops with Powerade.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I will watch it. I will actually. That's two people that have recommended the film to me, so I do.
What's it called? Idiocracy.
Idiocracy, yeah.
What a great title.
Is it a comedy then?
It's pretty comedic, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you'll laugh at all the stupidity that's being shown potentially. They have some actually clever stupidity in the movie, so it's pretty funny.
Nice.
But I think it was made in 2005. I think, yeah. So 500 years it would be 2,505. So could the age of Aquarius really be the age of no knowledge?
Probably.
Too much technology that everyone becomes stupid. With all the smart phones doing everything for you. But that's what it was doing. It was all robotic.
Yeah, well, yeah. Mankind's already been dumbed down, but they'll be dumbed down when their jobs become replaced.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was like 50% of the population worked for the Gatorade company.
Amazon. The story of Wall-E, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
It's just going to be fat, overweight, which is what they want, I think, more than anything.
Absolutely. But yeah, I think we should end it
No,
there, guys.
yeah.
We've done a great job in connecting the pieces of the matrix. Thanks again, Silviu, for having us on. Rowan, with your knowledge, and let's end it there. And to you, the viewer, to you, the listener, thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode on connecting the dots to the matrix. We'll see you guys. See ya.
So you guys, thank you.
Peace.